but it has to move back some.
Good?
No. There we go. No. Could you make the camera straight? Hare Krishna, good morning everybody from Chicago. We will chant Japa and have reading. And we'll begin by chanting Mangala Charanam. Nama Om, Om Agyan Timarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militan Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitams Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharane Nirusisha Shunyavadi Paschitade Zitarane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namane Shri Varshabhana Videvi Dayataya Kipabdai Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Namo Gaur Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Martaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambo Jayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namane Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Birbhava Bhumestam Nirdesta Sajjana Priyaha Shri Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Pancha Kopa Tarubhyascha Kripasindhu Vicha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatatatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaur Vishe Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Himavidivacha Vishundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Nityanandam Maham Nomi Sarvananda Karamparam Harinam Pradam Devam Avaduta Shiromanim Advaitam Haranadvaitad Acharya Bhakti Shanshanat Bhaktavataram Ishantam Advaita Charyam Ashraye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsavasvaparam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Brindaranya Kapadumado Shrimad Ratnagara Singhasanastal Shri Shri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prastali Bi Sabhyamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasaram Bir Bankshipata Tatastitaha Karshan Menushvaner Gopir Gopinastriye Stuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tayavina Iti Bignaya Devitam Nayamam Charanandikam Devi Dukakula Sagaro Dare Duyamana Matidurgatam Janam Tam Kripa Prabala Nopayadputam Prabhaya Swa Padapankajalayam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nasteva Gatir anyatha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhevyacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Cheto darpana marjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shriyat kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyabharu jivanam anandam buddhibardhanam pratipadam purna amritasvadam sarvatmasnapadam param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam namna makadi bahudani sarva shakti statrarpitani amita smaranena kala Hitadrishi tavakipa bhagavan mamapi dudaiva midrishami najani na anuraga trinadapi sunichena taroriva sahishkana amanina manadena kirtaniya sarahari nadanam najanam nasundarim kabitam vajagadish kamai mama janmani janmanishwari bhavatad bhakti rahai tuki tvai Ai Nandathanuja Kinkaram Patitam Ambishami Babamburo Kripaya Tavapada Pankajas Ditadulishadrisham Vichantaya Nayanam Galadasrudaraya Baranam Gadgarudaya Gira Pulakarni Chitam Babhukara Tavanamagrahani Brishyati Jugaitam Namishena Chakshusha Pravrishaitam Shunyaitam Jagatsarvam Govinda Vidahiname Vaslishyava padaratam panashtu mam adarshanam marmahatam karotu va yata tata vavitatolam patto matprananatas sa eva naparam Krishnot kirtana gana nartana paro premamritam bonidi dira dira janapriyo priyakaro nirmatsaro pujito Shri Chaitanya kripa baro bhuvipubo baravahan tarako Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shiji Gopalako Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Shaddharma Sanstapako Lokanam Hitakarano Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajananandena Mataliko Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shiji Gopalako Shri Gauranga Gunanu Varnana Vida Shraddha Samridyan Vito Papo Tapa Nikarintano Tunuburitam Govindaganam Ritai Anandambu Dibardanaikanipuno Kaivalya Nishta Rako Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Chakcha Turnam Asesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchabat Bhutta Dina Ganeshako Karunaya Kopina Kantasrito Gopi Bhavara Samritabdil Hari Kalo Lamagnom Hur Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Kujat Kokila Hangsha Sharasha Gana Kirne Mayurya Kule Nana Ratna Nibara Mula Vitapa Shri Jukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Maharnisham Prabhajatal Jivartada Yomuda Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Shankhya Purvaka Nama Gananti Bikala Vasani Krito Nidrahara Biharakadi Vijita Chachanti Dinachya Radha Krishna Guna Smitir Murinan Mandena Sammohito Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Radha Kunda Tate Kalindi Tanaya Tire Chabangshi Bate Premon Madhavasada Sesha Dashaya Grasta Parmatta Sada Gayanta Chakara harer Gunabaramba Bhavibhuto Muda Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Hey Radhe Brajadevake Chalalite Hey Nandasuno Kutan Shri Govardhana Kalpapada Patale Kalindibane Kutan Goshanta Viti Sarvato Brajapure Ke Der Mahavivalo Bande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalato Shri Krishna Chaitanya Punityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vrindavan, could you unplug me, please? I have to go away for a moment. I'll be right back, everyone. Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Everybody give me just a minute because I want to inform other people that I'm online who may not know that I'm online. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare 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 Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. 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 Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna. Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, 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 Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare. Everybody pardon me for a moment. I'll be right back. Please don't run away. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Ram Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning from Chicago. We will read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All right. Where do I want to go? I want to go here. And I want to go. Hare Krishna. We hope that everybody is well wherever you are. We are well here in Chicago. We are with Braja Mohan and Sri Guru and Vrindavan Das and Namachintamani and Mathureshwari and Jagannath and Chaitanya Charan and Mrs. Chaitanya Charan. And we've been together for 3 or 4 days now, and we just chant Japa in the morning, and we read, and we read in the evening also. And we're reading from Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, Chapter 1, which describes Lord Chaitanya's, or Rupa Gosvami's, second meeting with Lord Chaitanya. And Ramananda Roy is examining. Can you turn off the heater, please? Ramananda Roy is examining the poetry of Rupa Gosvami. When Rupa Gosvami was, am I speaking loud enough for everybody here? Can you come closer? When Rupa Gosvami when Rupa Gosvami was coming to meet the Lord, Rupa Gosvami, he wanted to write a drama. And he wanted to include all of the pastimes of Krishna in one drama. And the meaning, the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, and the pastimes of Krishna in Mathura and Dwarka. And so when he was traveling, he stopped at a village in Orissa called Satyabhamapur. And that evening, Satyabhama came to him in his dream and said, don't put all the pastimes together in one book. She said, write 2 books. And so he started thinking, how will I do that? And then when he got to Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya told him also, don't put all the pastimes in one book. Put them in 2 books. So the pastimes of Mathura and Dwarka, that is called Lalita Madhava, and the pastimes in Vrindavan are called Bidagdha Madhava. Then when he got to Jagannath Puri, he stayed with Haridas Thakur at Siddha Bakul. And Lord Chaitanya, when he would come to visit, he found some of the verses that had been written by Rupa Gosvami. And Lord Chaitanya went into ecstasy. I think the first thing was at Rath Yatra, Rupa Goswami was observing Rath Yatra for the first time, and he was observing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing at Rath Yatra, which was always an astonishing thing. And Lord Chaitanya would always sing this verse in front of the Rath Yatra cart to Lord Jagannath, and he would be singing in the mood of a girl who was meeting her lover after a long time in another place. And she would sing, oh, this is so nice, and it's so nice to see you, and every season is so beautiful, all of these different things. But I would prefer not to see you here, but I would prefer to see you on the banks of the Reva River, under the Vitasi tree. So it's like Srimati Radharani, Rupa Goswami could understand that this was Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And she was saying, it's so nice to meet you at Kurukshetra, but I would rather see you back in Vrindavan on the banks of the Jamuna, on the groves on the sides of the Jamuna. So he wrote a corresponding verse. And Lord Chaitanya saw that verse, and Lord Chaitanya became astonished and said, he understands my mind. So then Lord Chaitanya started testing his devotees, and he started saying, how is it that he could understand my mind? And first he asked Swarup Damodar, and then he asked Ramananda Roy. And he asked Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy answered, they said, there's only one way that he could understand your mind, and that is if you revealed yourself to him. And Lord Chaitanya was satisfied with their answer. Then one day Lord Chaitanya went to the place of Rupa Goswami, and he found that verse that Rupa Goswami had written, who can understand how much nectar is in the 2 syllables Krishna? And when Lord Chaitanya read that, he just went into ecstasy. And he said it was the best description of Krishna's holy name that he had ever heard. Lord Chaitanya went into ecstasy and he started dancing. And good morning, Hare Krishna. Chaitanya Charan has just come. So eventually, the devotees from Bengal, they went back to Bengal, and it was just Rupa Goswami with the devotees in Jagannath Puri. And also, good morning, Hare Krishna. And also when Rupa Goswami had arrived, Lord Chaitanya introduced him to all the devotees. And Lord Chaitanya told Swarup Damodar, when I met him, I saw he was so qualified that I fully gave him my mercy. And then he instructed Swarup Damodar, now you also give him your mercy. And that instruction meant that Swarup Damodar was to train Rupa Gosvami in the entire science of rasa. And so, all the devotees, they met Rupa, and they were all very pleased to meet Rupa. And then the Bengali devotees, they went back to Bengal, and Rupa Goswami was there with just the devotees in Jagannath Puri. And Lord Chaitanya arranged a meeting one time with Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar and so many of the Vaishnavas. And Lord Chaitanya was requesting Rupa Goswami, please recite those verses. But Rupa was too shy to recite them in front of Lord Chaitanya. And so consequently, I think, if I recall, maybe you can help me, that first verse that he wrote, corresponding to Lord Chaitanya's mood at Rath Yatra, was that read by Swarup Damodar? Did we read that yesterday? I sort of think that Swarup Damodar read that to the devotees, and then Lord Chaitanya wanted that verse about the two syllables Krishna recited, and maybe Rupa read it. I can't exactly remember. But what Lord Chaitanya did was this. He turned to Ramananda Roy, because Ramananda Roy was an author as well, and he said, you ask him about his literature. So then Ramananda Roy started asking questions from a very scientific perspective about the introductory verse and this verse and that verse and the other verse. And Rupa started answering. He started communicating with Ramananda Roy. So that's what's going on now. And Ramananda Roy, at one point, he said, please recite from your drama the verse. This keeps doing something. Oh, okay, anyhow. Ramananda Roy said, please recite the verse that describes your worshipable deity. And when Ramananda Roy asked that question, then Rupa really got shy. And the reason he became so shy is because his worshipable deity is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting just there. And he was too shy to recite his verse in front of Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya looked up and he said, why are you so embarrassed? What's the matter with you? You should recite it so that all the devotees here can see the nice fruit of your writing. And so then Rupa Goswami recited. And this is the verse that Rupa Goswami wrote to describe his worshipable deity. And this is one of the verses of Kaviraj Goswami's Mangala Charanam of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's an important verse, and all of us devotees, we should learn this verse. Anarpita charim charat korunaya vatirna kalau samarpayitam unata ujvala rasam sabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara duti kadamba santi pitaha sada ridaya kandare spuratu va sachinandanaha. The translation, may the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost core of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he is descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So here, what is that keeps happening? It's different messages you're getting, and they come up on the screen. So here, Rupa Gosvami, he explains the reason of Lord Chaitanya's incarnation. He says that he said, first of all, he's the son of Sachi Devi, and he is more shining than molten gold, and may he become situated within your heart. And then he says he has appeared to bestow something that no other incarnation of the Lord ever gave, and that is the mellow of conjugal love, Madhurya Rasa. So we should understand this is what Lord Chaitanya came to give you and you and you and you and me and everybody else. Despite our glaring disqualifications as being products of Kali Yuga, still Lord Chaitanya, he came to give us this mellow of conjugal love and the process to attain that, which is the chanting of the Hare Krishna maha-mantra. So he recited that in front of Lord Chaitanya, and then the devotees, all the devotees, they just, they went into ecstasy when they heard Rupa Goswami recite that verse. And then Ramananda Roy made an inquiry from Rupa, and he's asking about his play, because Ramananda had written a play also called Jagannath Vallabha Nataka, which is a very beautiful drama. So Ramananda Roy said, how have you introduced the players or the actors in your play, the assembly of players? And Rupa Goswami replied, the players assemble at a suitable time under the heading of pravartika. Now, all of this is just the laws of Sanskrit drama, and we won't go into the purports about the different aspects. So here in the next verse it says, when the entrance of actors in a drama is set into motion by the arrival of a suitable time, the entrance is called pravartika. And so now he's going to explain what that suitable time is. This where the actors will come into the drama. Springtime has arrived, and the full moon of that season inspired the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is complete in everything, with new attraction to meet the beautiful Srimati Radharani at night to increase the beauty of their pastimes. So, in the purport, Prabhupada says, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur interprets this verse of Bidagna Madhava in two ways. For Lord Krishna and for Srimati Radharani. When interpreted for Krishna, the night is understood to have been a dark moon night, and when interpreted for Srimati Radharani, it is understood to be a full moon night. So at any rate, it's springtime. His drama is set in springtime, and it's the full moon night. And Krishna becomes filled with hope to meet Srimati Radharani to increase the beauty of their pastimes. Ramananda Roy said, please recite the prarochana portion so I may hear it and I may examine it. Sri Rupa replied, I think that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to hear is prarochana. And so now we're going to skip the technicalities here. So now he's going to describe this verse. The devotees now present are constantly thinking of the Supreme Lord and are therefore highly advanced. This work, named Vidagdha Madhava, depicts the characteristic pastimes of Lord Krishna with decorations of poetic ornaments. And the inner grounds of the forest of Vrindavan provide a suitable platform for the dancing of Krishna and the gopis. Therefore, I think the pious activities of persons like us who have tried to advance in devotional service has now attained maturity. That's very nice. You know, he's speaking to his audience. He says, the devotees now present, like all of you devotees who are sitting here now present, you're all very highly advanced because all of you are constantly thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right, Shri Guru? Constantly. This work, Vidagdha Madhava, depicts the characteristic pastimes of Lord Krishna with decorations of poetic ornaments. And Rupa Gosvami, he could tell the pastimes, but he could say it in such poetic way. You know, nobody's poetry can compare to Sri Rupa Goswami. The inner grounds of the Vrindavan forest provide a suitable platform for the dancing of Krishna and the gopis. So that's another description that he gives of, you know, the scene of the drama. And then he concludes by saying, therefore, I think all of us who are sitting here today in Chicago, and anybody who's sitting out there in internet land, that all of our pious activities who have tried to advance in devotional service have now come to maturity so that we can hear these pastimes of the Lord. Okay, next verse. Oh, and now this is Rupa speaking. This is the author speaking. O learned devotees, I am by nature ignorant and very low. Yet even though it is from me that the Vidagdha Madhava has come, it is filled with descriptions of the transcendental attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, will not such a literature bring about the attainment of the highest goal of life? Although its wood may be ignited by a low-class man, fire nevertheless can purify gold. Similarly, although I am very low by nature, this book may help cleanse the dirt from the hearts of the golden devotees. Isn't that nice? Nice example. First, he introduces himself. He says that he has compiled Vidagdha Madhava, and he says, but I am very low, and I am very ignorant. But despite the fact that I'm low and ignorant, this book is just filled with the transcendental attributes of Krishna. And he says, therefore, will not hearing such a book bring the highest attainment of life? So that's, again, a reminder to all of us. If we want to become advanced in the devotional service of the Lord, we have to hear the pastimes of Krishna. We have to relish the pastimes of Krishna. Just like Srila Prabhupada, the other day we read, Prabhupada said, he said, like Kaviraj Goswami, he said, I'm very old. And he said, I think he said he is already 78 years old. He said he's practically crippled by arthritis and rheumatism. And he said, I don't know if I'll be able to finish the work. He said, my life's work is Srimad Bhagavatam, but I may not finish it because I'm so old. He says, so therefore, I've compiled the Krishna book so that people can hear the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam if I don't make it. And indeed, Prabhupada only made it to, I think, chapter 14 of the 10th canto. And then he went back to Krishna. So here he's saying, this book, even though I'm low and I wrote the book, the pastimes are so pure that if you hear it, it will cleanse your heart. And then he gives a nice example. And he says, even if wood is ignited by a very low-class man, the fire that comes from that will purify gold. So even though this book has been written by a low-class man, if you hear it, it will cleanse the dirt from the hearts of the golden Vaishnavas. Very beautiful. You can see his poetry. Then Ramananda Roy inquired from Rupa Gosvami about the causes of the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis, such as previous attachment, transformations of love, endeavors for love, and exchanges of letters disclosing the gopis' awakening of love. Srila Rupa Goswami gradually informed Ramananda Roy about everything he asked. Hearing his explanations, all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were completely struck with wonder. And Srila Prabhupada gives a purport. Srila Rupa Goswami has explained Kama Likana in his book Ujjvala Nilamani. And there he says, exchanges of letters between young boys and young girls concerning their awakening of attachment for each other is called Kama Leka. So then here's a verse Rupa Goswami has written. Experiencing previous attachment to Krishna, which is called Purvarag, Srimati Radharani thought, since I have heard the name of a person called Krishna, I have practically lost my good sense. Then there is another person who plays his flute in such a way that after I hear the vibration, intense madness arises in my heart. And again, there is still another person to whom my mind becomes attracted when I see his beautiful lightning-like effulgence in his picture. Therefore, I think I am greatly condemned because I have simultaneously become attached to 3 people. It would be better for me to die than to be in this situation. It's nice, isn't it? You know, she says, I'm attached to 3 people at once. Ever since I heard the name Krishna, I fell in love with that person. And then there's somebody in Vrindavan who plays the flute. And when I hear that flute, I become mad. And my love, and I just fall in love with that person also. And then there's some person that whenever I see his picture, I fall in love with him also. What kind of a girl am I? I'm in love with 3 people at one time. I think the best thing for me to do is just to die. That's wonderful, isn't it? That's the bewilderment of Srimati Radharani and her love for Krishna. My dear friend, these palpitations of Srimati Radharani's heart are extremely difficult to cure. Even if one applied some medical treatment, it would only end in defamation. She has these palpitations of her heart, like Vrindavan gets palpitations in his heart. But when Vrindavan's heart palpitates too much, then he's programmed to get an electric shock where lightning bolts come out of his eyeballs. But Srimati Radharani, it's like her heart is just thumping away out of her excitement for love for Sri Krishna. And it says, these palpitations are impossible to cure. And even if you tried to apply some medicine to cure that, it would only end in defamation. O dearly beautiful one, the artistic loveliness of your picture is now impressed within my mind. Since you are now living within my mind, wherever I wish to run, because I am agitated by impressions of you, I find that you, my friend, are blocking my way. You know, she saw a picture of Krishna, and that became impressed in her heart. She says, now you're living in my heart. And I become so agitated. I want to run somewhere, to hide because of this agitation and these impressions. But everywhere I run, you're there. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? This verse of Vidagnamadhava is written in Prakrit language, not in Sanskrit. When transformed into Sanskrit, it reads as follows. The meaning is the same, but the native language is different. It was spoken to Krishna by Madhu Mangal as he read him a letter from Srimati Radharani. So this is Kamaleka, letters. Hare Krishna. Upon seeing, this is another verse by Rupa Gosvami. Upon seeing peacock feathers in front of her, this girl suddenly begins to tremble and shake. When she sometimes sees a necklace of gunja, she begins to shed tears and she begins to cry loudly. I do not know what kind of new ecstatic influence has entered the heart of this poor girl. It has imbued her with the dancing attitude of a player creating wonderful, unprecedented dances on the stage. And this verse was spoken by Radharani's grandmother. Who is Radharani's grandmother? Mukara. Mukara. She's very elderly. She's just about blind. And if any of you, okay, everybody just go to Vrindavan now. And, we're going to go to Radhakund. And you cross the highway, and then you're on the road to Radhakund, you cross the bridge. And then just before Radhakund, there's a village on the left side. And that village is called Mukarai. And that's the village of Mukara. And many times Mukara, she goes out, she hears she hears that something is going on with her granddaughter. She hears that her granddaughter, this naughty boy Krishna, is doing something with her granddaughter. And so sometimes, even though she's just about blind, she goes out in Vrindavan and she's like trying to figure out what's going on. And she did that one time somewhere over by Suryakund, which is just about in the same neighborhood. Suryakund, Radhakund, and Radharani had gone over there to do Surya Puja. And so she was in this thick forest, and she was like, Radharani and Krishna finally were together after the puja was finished. And then Jotila, Radharani's mother-in-law, she had said, "Oh, you young Brahmin, you did the puja so excellently. I want to give you dakshin." So she went to Radharani. She said, "Give me your gold ring." She took off her gold ring and she went to give it to Krishna. And Krishna said, "No, I don't accept dakshin. I'm a Brahmin. You can't pay me." And then he grabbed the ring immediately. And then Lalita looked up and said, "Oh, mother, these Brahmin boys, they have done nice puja. When Brahmins do puja, you have to reward them by feeding them nice food cooked in ghee." And Madhu Mangal said, "Yeah, that's a great idea." And then Jotila said, "Yes, that's a great idea." And so Lalita said, "Well, I think, Mother, you should go, and you should take this Brahmin boy with you, and we will catch up after." And so then Jotila, she started to go, and Madhu Mangal, he went. And then finally, Srimati Radharani and Krishna, they had that chance to just meet, even just to be alone and to sit and look at one another, whatever they do when they're together. But nearby in the forest, there was a demon who had been sent by Kamsa. Because Kamsa had heard that this girl, Srimati Radharani, she was the most beautiful girl in Braja. And Kamsa wanted Radharani. And so he sent the Shankachuta demon, to capture Radharani and bring her back to Mathura. And so the Shankachuta demon, he's like hiding in the forest. And he's waiting for the moment that he can kidnap Srimati Radharani. And then Purnamasi, she's like going through the forest, almost blind. Not Purnamasi, Mukara. Going through the forest, looking for Radharani, looking for Krishna. And she sees this demon. And she goes, "Ha! Now I've caught that rascal Krishna." And she jumps and she grabs Mukara, she grabs Shankachuta. And Shankachuta goes, "Ah, you old witch, what are you doing to me?" And then he just shakes her, and then he runs out, and he grabs Srimati Radharani, and he starts running with Srimati Radharani. And he starts running, and Krishna says, "All right, you asked for it." And Krishna starts chasing him. And then Shankachuta, at some point, he says, "Oh man, I'm in trouble." And that was the situation. Kamsa was sending all of his friends to Vrindavan to do something to Krishna, and none of his friends were ever coming home. And so Shankachuta said, "Oh boy, now I'm in hot water." And so he just put Radharani down, And then Krishna, he rips a tree out of the earth and he starts chasing Shankachuta, and then whack, he hits Shankachuta and he kills him. And when he kills him, that big jewel, which is like a shank, a conch shell, falls off the head of the Shankachuta demon. And when that happens, you know, Krishna's got this jewel. And, you know, Lalita and Vishaka and Radharani, they're all, how wonderful, how wonderful. And Krishna really wants to just take that jewel, that Shankachuta jewel, he wants to give it directly to Radharani. But he knows that if he does that, it's going to cause suspicion to rise in Vrindavan, that something's going on. So what he does is he takes the jewel and he gives it to his elder brother Balaram. And then Balaram takes that jewel and he gives it to Madhumangal, and then Madhumangal gives it to Balaram. Because Balaram is like the big brother. And big brothers are like big brother's big brother, you know. And then big brother, he thinks, oh, it'd be nice, you know, I should give this to Radharani. It'd be a nice jewel for her. And Balaram presents it to her. And so then later, in one of the books in Vilap Kusumanjali, Raghunath Das Goswami says that Shankachuta jewel and the Kaustuba jewel, Krishna wears the Kaustuba jewel, and Radharani wears the Shankachuta jewel. And he says the Shankachuta and the Kaustuba, they have become best friends because they're always meeting with one another. So, yeah. Mukara. Hare Krishna. Srimati Radharani said to her companion Vishaka, my dear friend, if Krishna is unkind to me, there will be no need for you to cry, for it will not be due to any fault of yours. I shall then have to die. But after I die, please do one thing for me. To observe my funeral ceremony, place my body with its arms out, embracing a tamal tree, so I may remain forever in Vrindavan undisturbed. That is my last request. Because the tamal tree is black and it represents Krishna. So, you know, Radharani is like very perturbed because of her situation. She loves 3 boys at one time. She doesn't know what's going to happen. She's always agitated and disturbed. And she turns to Vishaka, and Vishaka is born at the same second as Radharani, so she can understand Srimati Radharani. She says, my dear friends, if Krishna is unkind to me, there's no need for you to cry, because it won't be due to any fault of yours. But actually, I may have to die if Krishna is unkind to me. But if I do die, I have one last request. Take me, and there's a beautiful tamal tree, black tamal tree. Just place my arms around that tamal tree. And then forever, I will live in Vrindavan undisturbed. That is my last request. Like if we were to die now, what would our last request be? Chocolate? I always joke with Shiv Charan. And in Vrindavan, like when I was a boy, there was a prayer that we were taught before we would go to sleep. And that prayer is, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. And then we say, God bless mom, God bless dad, God bless my brothers and sisters, God bless my uncles, God bless my grandfather, God bless my dog, God bless everyone. And in Vrindavan, with all this COVID business going on, I'd always tell Shiv, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, get my wallet and my money and my passport before the police come. But Radharani says, my last request is just put my arms around that black tamal tree and let me live forever in Vrindavan.
It's Radharani asking like that.
Yes, Radharani asking. Ramananda Roy inquired, what are the characteristics of emotional love? Rupa Gosvami replied, this is the nature of emotional love for Krishna. And these are like long verses, beautiful long verses. And I'm not so good at reciting Sanskrit, but it's like, Pidabir Navakalakuta Katuta Garvasya Nirvasano Nishandena Mudam Shuddha Mururi Mankara Shankochana Premasundari Nandanando Paro Jagarti Yasyantare Jnanyanti Spurtam Asya Bhakta Madura Tenaiva Vikrana. So this is a characteristic of love. My dear, beautiful friend, if one develops love of Godhead, love for Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, all the bitter and sweet influences of this love will become manifest in one's heart simultaneously. Such love of Godhead acts in two ways. The poisonous effects of love of Godhead defeat the severe and fresh poison of a serpent. Yet there is simultaneously transcendental bliss which pours down and defeats the poisonous effect of that snake, as well as the happiness derived from pouring nectar on one's head. It is perceived as doubly effective, simultaneously poisonous and simultaneously nectarian. So it's like the characteristic of love for Krishna. It's worse than the poison of a snake, meaning separation from Krishna burns like the fire of a snake bite, a poisonous snake bite. And at the same time, it's nectar. It creates such transcendental happiness within the heart. So it seems contradictory, but it's like actually extreme transcendental ecstasy. Ramananda Roy further inquired, what are the natural characteristics of awakening love of Godhead? Rupa Gosvami replied, these are the natural characteristics of love of God. And then, okay, this is what Rupa Goswami says is the natural characteristic of the awakening of love for God. When one hears praise from his beloved, he outwardly remains neutral, but feels pain within his heart. When he hears his beloved making accusations about him, he takes them to be jokes and enjoys pleasure. When he finds faults in his beloved, They do not diminish his love, nor do the beloved's good qualities increase his spontaneous affection. Thus, spontaneous love continues under all circumstances. That is how spontaneous love of Godhead acts within the heart. It's very contradictory. If one gives praise from the beloved, one feels pain in the heart. If one hears the beloved saying bad things about him, one feels joy. It's just like there's that story, and I heard this long time ago when I was a very young devotee, and I'm not sure, maybe the reference is in Nectar of Devotion, but Krishna is with one of his associates, and one of the elderly gopis of Vrindavan is calling Krishna a rascal and calling him like a black snake and calling him, you know, such a bad boy and hitri and all this sort of stuff. And Krishna's friend was surprised to hear one of the elderly gopis speaking to him in this way. And Krishna's response was, when I hear these words, like of chastisement from my pure devotees, I relish those words much more than I relish the reverential hymns of the Vedas. You know, when one of the girls says, Krishna, you're nonsense, Krishna feels joy. And Radharani, you know, she'll just become angry with Krishna. She'll put up her veil. She won't look at him. She won't speak to him. Krishna feels so much like disturbance in his heart. She'll abuse him with words, especially Lalita. Lalita will abuse Krishna in so many ways. Very, very poetic ways. Extraordinary ways. But still rebuke Krishna, and Krishna feels so much joy. It increases his anticipation. This is how spontaneous love of God acts within the heart. Okay. This is a verse spoken by Krishna. Upon hearing of my cruelty, moon-faced Radharani may establish some kind of tolerance in her aggrieved heart. But then she might turn against me. Or indeed, being fearful of the lusty desires invoked by the bow of the formidable Cupid, she might even give up her life. Alas, I have foolishly uprooted the soft creeper of her desire just when it was ready to bear fruit. So Krishna's like, you know, oh gosh, when I'm cruel to Radharani, so many things may happen. She may just become tolerant and say, eh. She may turn against me. But when the transcendental Cupid shoots his bow inside of her heart, she may also give up her life. And Krishna goes, oh, he says, I have foolishly uprooted the soft creeper of her desire just when it was ready to bear fruit. This is a verse by Srimati Radharani. Desiring the happiness of his association and embraces, my dear friend, I have disregarded even my superiors and relaxed my shyness and gravity before them. Therefore, although you are my best friend, more dear to me than my own life, I have given you so much trouble. Indeed, I even put aside the vow of dedication to my husband a vow kept by the most elevated women. Oh, alas, although now he is neglecting me, I am so sinful that I am still living. Therefore, I must condemn my so-called patience. Radharani, she's lamenting her position. She's saying, she's speaking to Krishna. Or she's speaking to her, no, she's speaking to Vishaka. And it says, she says, due to his association and his embraces, I disregarded my superiors. I relaxed my shyness and my gravity in front of my mother and father. Therefore, Vishaka, even though you are my best friend, more dear to me than my life, even I have given you so much trouble. Indeed, I even took the vow of my dedication to my husband, a vow that's kept by the most chaste women. I put that aside as well. She's married to Abhimanyu. And still she goes to the forest to dance with Krishna. Even I did that. I am so sinful. My dear friend, I am so sinful. Still, I'm still living. Therefore, I must condemn my own patience. Okay, we'll read just a few more. Rupa Gosvami could really write, couldn't he? This is all Rupa Goswami's poetry. I wish I was a nice reciter, because his, like my godbrother, I can't remember his name now, Sanskritist. Huh? Dravida. When he recites Sanskrit, it's just like nectar flowing in your ears. There's grihanta kilantyo nija sahaja balasya balanad abhadram badram va kim api hi na jani mahi-manak vayam netum yukta katam asharanam kam apida sham katam va nyaya te pratayitum udashina padavi. So this is spoken to Krishna by Srimati Radharani. Spoken by Krishna to Radharani. I was engaged in my own playful activities at home, and because of my childish innocence, I did not know right from wrong. Therefore, it is good for you to have forced us. And therefore, he's saying, I was so innocent. I was at home. And because of my childish innocence, I did not know right from wrong. Therefore, is it good for you to have forced me into being so attracted to you and then neglected us? Now you are indifferent to us. Do you think this is right? You see, Krishna is just like, pulling this game on Radharani. I was so innocent. I was just a child at home. And what did you do? Is it right? Is it right that you forced me into being so attracted to you? And now you neglect us. Is this negligence? Is this indifference? Nice what you're doing? Krishna is very hitri. Very hitri chalavek. This is spoken by Radharani to Lalita. Our hearts are so polluted by miserable conditions that we are certainly going to Pluto's kingdom. Nevertheless, Krishna does not give up his beautiful, loving smile, which is full of cheating tricks. O Srimati Radharani, you are very intelligent. How is it that you could have developed such great loving feelings for this deceitful rascal from the neighborhood of the cowherd men? Our hearts are so polluted by miserable conditions that we are certainly going to go to hell. Nevertheless, Krishna does not give up his beautiful, loving, smiling, which is full of cheating tricks. We're going to hell and he still doesn't stop. O Srimati Radharani. This is spoken to Radharani by Lalita. O Srimati Radharani, you are very intelligent. How is it that you developed such great loving affection for this deceitful debauchee from the neighborhood of the cowherd men? It's like Lalita, she's sharp. She's sharp. Oh, we're going to go to hell. Nevertheless, Krishna doesn't stop. He just keeps smiling at us. He keeps like looking at us from his eyes. He keeps like agitating us. Radharani, you're so intelligent. What happened? How is it that you developed affection for such a rascal? You know, just a cowherdsman. How did you develop so much affection for him? I mean, it's just the whole, presenting the whole idea of their pastimes in this way that you see all these different perspectives, the moods of Radharani, the moods of Krishna, the thoughts of Lalita, the thoughts of Vishaka, the thoughts of Mukara, the thoughts of all of these people. This is the power of Rupa Gosvami, that he can communicate this to us. Okay, we'll read one last verse. And this is spoken by Krishna to Purnamasi. O Lord Kṛṣṇa, you are just like an ocean. The river of Srimati Radharani has reached you from a long distance, leaving behind the tree of her husband, breaking through the bridge of social convention, and forcibly crossing the hills of elder relatives. Coming here because of fresh feelings of love for you, that river has now received your shelter. But now you are trying to turn her back by the waves of unfavorable words. How is it that you are spreading this attitude? Isn't that beautiful poetry? It says, so the Purnamasi, grandmother, she's speaking to Krishna, grandson. And she's saying, Krishna, you're just like the ocean. And Radharani is like a river. And that river has flowed a long way to reach you. That river left behind the tree of her husband. That river, it broke through the bridge of social convention. That river forcefully crossed over the hill of elder relatives. Coming here because of fresh feelings of love for you, that river has now achieved your shelter. And now you're trying to turn the river back with unfavorable words. How is it that you have such an attitude? You know, how is it? It's just, Rupa Goswami is a master. He's the master of masters, and expressing the moods of relationship between Radha and Krishna in such a charming and appealing way. Okay, that's enough for today. Beautiful poetry, absolutely beautiful poetry. I don't know if you can. Tomorrow will be interesting. Ramananda Roy, Ramananda Roy, pardon?
You're flying tomorrow.
But not until later.
Like 1 o'clock, right? The flight.
I believe we should leave at 9.
9? Ooh.
Yeah,
Oi.
Maybe I'm wrong, that's what I think. I have to check.
Yeah, we have to check. Anyhow,
it's fine when you leave chanting.
the next verse is Ramananda Roy further inquires. Ramananda Roy is good at asking questions. He's a master of poetry himself. How have you described Vrindavan? How have you described the vibration of the transcendental flute? And how have you described the relationship between Krishna and Radha? And I did something weird here. Okay. Please tell me all this, because your poetic ability is wonderful. After offering obeisances to Ramananda Roy, Rupa Gosvami gradually began answering his questions. So this is describing Vrindavan. And this verse is spoken by Krishna himself. The sweet, fragrant honey which oozes from newly grown mango buds is again and again attracting groups of bumblebees. And this forest is trembling in the soft breezes of the Malaya hills, which are full of sandalwood trees. Thus, the forest of Vrindavan is increasing my transcendental pleasure. So, just mango trees with blossoms and honey is pouring out. And then sandalwood trees. When the wind blows across the sandalwood trees, the whole place becomes fragrant. Krishna says, this forest of Vrindavan is increasing my transcendental pleasure. My dear friend, and this verse is spoken by Balaram to his friend Sridham. My dear friend, see how this forest of Vrindavan is full of transcendental creepers and trees. The tops of the creepers are full of flowers, and intoxicated bumblebees are buzzing around them, humming songs that please the ear and surpass even the Vedic hymns. That's nice, isn't it? At our house in Vrindavan, you just sit on the porch, and there's so many varieties of birds. Because we have all that bougainvillea that grows around the yard, and that bougainvillea is like ashrams for the birds. And we have the bougainvillea that grows right over the porch. And they all come in there also, and they make their homes in there, and you hear them talking all the time. It's like constantly you hear birds talking in Vrindavan. And here it says those creepers, they go so high, and there's flowers up there on the top, and then all these mad bumblebees come, drinking the honey, and they're buzzing all the time. And the buzzing of the bees is more beautiful than the prayers of the Vedas. My dear, this is a verse spoken by Krishna to Madhumangal. My dear friend, this forest of Vrindavan is giving great pleasure to our senses in various ways. Somewhere, bumblebees are singing in groups. In some places, mild breezes are cooling the entire atmosphere. Somewhere, creepers and tree twigs are dancing. The malika flowers are expanding their fragrance, and an overabundance of juice is constantly flowing in showers from the pomegranate trees. I guess in that Vrindavan they have pomegranates. I haven't seen pomegranates in our Vrindavan. Oh. Okay, we better stop because we have other things to do. Hare Krishna. I mean, really, there's nothing else to do but to hear this poetry. This is the only thing to do. Chant the holy name, hear Rupa Goswami's poetry, serve Vaishnavas, take prasad, repeat. This is the only thing to do. And just hearing these verses, like Rupa Goswami said, he said, I'm low, but the book is high. And he said, just like fire can be lit by a low man, and that fire can purify even gold. So in the same way, he said, even though this book has been written by a low man, it can purify the golden hearts of the Vaishnavas. So this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to hear. And Prabhupada gave us these literatures. Prabhupada gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita so that we could hear this. Prabhupada gave us Bhagavatam so that we could hear Bhagavatam. And by hearing these literatures, all the dirt will go away. And love for Krishna will awaken. Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody out in internet land, if you're still there. I don't know if you're still there. But Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, I want to, are you sure you want to stop? Yes, okay, I want to stop.